Ladies and gentlemen, the long-awaited, highly anticipated Friday. It only can only mean one thing. My friend, our friend, Terry Michler for the United States National High School Champions League, starting 11 or thereabouts, with Terry Michler and Kevin Whalen. Hey man, you been waiting all week for this or what?
Kevin, we're looking at episode 85. We're closing in on 100, man. Amazing. That's amazing. You're
Wow.
probably well into the 600s, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'm deep in the woods. I
Yeah.
what happened was is that I turned the sessions into episodes, so there everything is included.
Mm,
So
okay.
I don't know how many episodes versus I know how many. Oh, I know what the hell. I just minus 85.
There you go.
Ho ho
There
ho!
you go. Now you figured it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. All
All
right.
right.
So
So listen, I saw yesterday you had Sponsor Thursday.
yeah.
That's a great thing to do to give the sponsors a chance to be weekly contributors. So,
Yes.
we don't talk about our select ball that you keep looking for that square ball. You can't find that square ball because it's not going to be there.
No. No.
Select wouldn't put out a square ball.
No
They
way.
really
It's
got to comprehend
engineered.
that.
It's engineered by keepers for keepers.
And then Eddie O, he had a good presentation yesterday. Uh,
Always. Always.
yeah. And this week we haven't heard from Ziggy yet, but sure he'll probably be back on board next week with his naval planning, college planning.
Well, he won the flip. He started last week with
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, I was going to throw myself in the mix.
Yeah.
The Tim McAvoy, he's very humble. He doesn't, you know, get out there. He'll send me some stuff and say, "You go, you say it, Wales," And but then I'm gonna do a little 5 minutes for Wales certified.
Well, you ought to get Rob Stagenborg on there for extra time. Give him a chance to throw his 2 cents worth in.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right then.
Give your
Yes.
list a chance to listen to that. That's for sure.
Yes. Absolutely. And yeah, so there's some going on over in your neck of the woods over there.
Yep. We do a weekly on Sunday. It drops on Monday, and then when we do other out of the ordinary stuff, when we do personal interviews, he usually drops those on Wednesday. So yeah, it's moving along.
Well, the Champions League is like take a deep breath and it's on. The first games are starting to
Yeah,
pop up.
next right September 1st, I think is the first game.
Wow, man.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. All right, Kevin, let me get started. I'm going to try to beat the thereabouts time today, but I don't think I will. But I'm sure I'll be in that thereabouts time zone again. I always seem to end up there. But last week I talked about a tree. I used a tree and the growth of a tree in an analogy to the growth of a player. Today I'm going to talk about an orchestra in the growth of a team, and in a sense of team building. How can an orchestra relate to team building? That's going to be my presentation today. So let's start with the fact that an orchestra is made up of a variety of musicians, and the musicians are all playing different instruments, and each instrument makes its own sound. And for an orchestra to be uh, cohesive, all of the instruments and all the sounds have to come together at the right time in the right way to blend the sounds together. And that happens through a conductor. There's somebody that stands in front of the group and manages the group, and through different movements indicates who comes in when, and so on and so forth, to blend every section together to get the best performance. So in terms of how does that relate to soccer, well, the conductor for the orchestra would be the coach in soccer, and the musicians would be the players, and the individual elements that the musicians bring would be what the players bring. Every player has a characteristic and a quality that makes them unique. Everybody has a strong part of their game that when they play to it, it'll be noticeable and they'll be at their best. So that's the analogy to start with. So soccer has a coach, it has players, players have positions, each position has a role. And all that has to come together in the context of a game. And it comes together in three main ways. It comes together, number one, when you're in possession of the ball and you're trying to attack and score. How does the team perform in that area? The second phase is when you lose the ball and you have to defend. So how do you switch from attacking to defending? And now the objective is to work together as a group to prevent the goal scoring event opportunity. And the third phase is that time in between when the ball changes from your possession to the opponent's possession, from the opponent's possession to your possession. So transition works in terms of when you lose the ball and when you regain the ball. So those are the elements of soccer that are played out during the course of the game. They're different moments, and in the case of an orchestra, it might be different elements. It might be a crescendo moment where bang, everything is high tempo. It might be a slow down moment in the performance. It might be in between. It might just be a steady flow of sound and music and instruments playing. So different kinds of activities at different moments, similar to a soccer game. So the key is to be able to bring all of that together as one. I have to laugh because I'm a big follower of Andy Griffith's show, and there's a segment in there over the years where they had a local band made up of all the townspeople and all Andy's buddies and stuff, and they were horrible. They had old instruments and worn out uniforms, and they were the biggest ragtag thing in the world. Well, there's also a group that always came into town that were professional musicians, and they'd always stay in Andy's take up on his hospitality. Well, there was a scene where Andy's group wanted to go to a competition, a band competition, but they had to get approval and finances from the mayor and the governor to do this. And they knew that they wouldn't be able to pull it off with their band. So they put the other group in their band's uniforms and had a few people in the band in the group with them. But the guys that were in the band that were horrible just carried an instrument and faked like they were playing it. They really didn't play it. And the other guys played it really well and carried the moment. And as soon as they passed in review in front of the mayor and the governor, they turned the corner, got in their cars, and got out of there. and they were able to pull the snow job over and get approval to go. And they get on the bus to go, and it's only Andy's local guys and the mayor and the governor there to see him off. They start playing their own crappy music. And the mayor and the governor look at each other like, we just got bamboozled. So there's a case where I don't know how that fits into anything, but it made a good interest.
Right.
Back to the task here. So we have the element of importance in all of this is that each of the musicians is playing their instrument in the best way that they know how and to the best of their ability. Each player on the team is playing in a position and occupying some kind of a role within the team, hopefully to the best of their ability, to provide the best team performance. So that takes coordination, and it takes the characteristics and the qualities of each player to be brought out. Now, where the coach fits in there is the coach has to be able to recognize and identify where the players are best suited. And ideally, you like to put players together in pairs. And the pairs, to be most effective, have to work in opposition. So I have a term for that. It's simply called paired opposition, where you have A and B and they're different. It's like a puzzle. Not every piece is the same, but each piece has to fit in with the next piece. So the paired opposition is, one player might be an aggressive player and a ball winner, but not a real skillful player. His partner might be the skillful player that's a little bit non-aggressive, a little bit more shy, and might be patient and read the game as opposed to be active and aggressive. So you put those two together and you got a good partnership. You have too many players of the same quality, it's like an orchestra that's missing certain elements to provide a balance in the sound. You can't just get by with one sound all the time. You've got to have different moments where different sounds come through. Same way with the team. You got to have moments where you need different components. So what I've done over the years is I created a positional chart based on qualities and characteristics. Back in the day, we had the WM formation, if you remember that, where we had three backs, right, left, center back, two midfielders, right, left, half back, we called them. It's outside right, outside left. Then you had inside right, inside left, and then you had a center forward.
Yeah.
Those were the 11 positions. And the way they played out was you had the two wingers and the center forward always played up high. And then you had the two inside players dropped off from them. That formed the M. And then you had, in the backfield, you had the three fullbacks in the back line spread across the field. And in front of them in the gaps, you had the two halfbacks. That formed the W. So then it was our WM. Then we went to where we had the midfielders. We called the halfbacks midfielders. And at one point in time, we called them links. And the link was probably the best term to associate with a function, because the midfielders were the link between the backs and the forwards, kind of linking a chain. If you break the link, then you lose the stability, you lose the effectiveness. And then we went to where we called the defenders, the center backs. We called one the stopper, and one was the sweeper. And the forwards they became strikers and wingers. So we went from outside right, outside left to right winger, left winger. We went from center forward to striker. We went from midfielders. Now we have the attacking midfielder, the defending midfielder, the holding midfielder. We got all kinds of names now. Now we're going to numbers. So now the players are numbered so that the number 5 player is usually the center back. The number 6 player is usually the defensive midfielder. The number 8 player is usually the box-to-box midfielder. Number 10 is the engine. That's the player that makes it all happen. And number 9 is usually the striker. 7 and 11 are the winger. 2 and 3 are your outside backs. So what I created a little bit different scheme. And I think as I go through this with you quickly, you'll see that it makes sense. I always played primarily out of a 3-5-2. So starting in the back with the goalie. So let's say it's a 1-3-5-2, because you want to include the goalie in the alignment. The goalkeeper was known as Pac-Man. And Pac-Man back in the day was the caricature that gobbled everything up. So the goalie was Pac-Man because his job, primarily his first task was to gobble everything up and keep it out of the goal. Up in front of him, then we had the center back, which I call the processor. Back in the old day, that might have been the sweeper. The processor, that's the person that has to take in all the information, has to see everything that's going on in front of him, see the situations, see the opportunities, see the problems, and come up with a solution. So the processor take information in, put out a solution. That's where my center back would be. Outside of him, I'd have a right and a left back, and they would be called. The term for them they were steady eddies, well, rock steady. I'm sorry, rock steady. Their job was pretty simple. It was just to be a fortress and not to give in, break down, or allow people to get past you. Rock steady. So we got Pac-Man, we got rock steady right, rock steady left, and we got the processor in the middle. Then in the midfield, we got 5 midfielders, two on the wings, one right, one left wingers, and both of those players I have the Georgie Best style. Georgie Best was probably well known for his ability to take players on, to be highly successful in the dribble, get to the end line, get balls in on crosses, or come into the field and beat players on the dribble, get into the penalty area and take a shot. So my Georgie Best players were the ones that could operate individually, could play wide, could play isolated, and be good one-on-one players. That was Georgie Best. Then in the middle of the field, I had 3 midfielders, 2 wingers and 3 midfielders equal 5. That was my midfield 5. And I started from the back first, just in front of the back 3. My defensive midfielder, I would call him the anchor. And he was an anchor because he wasn't go too far. His job was to protect the defense in front of him. And anytime he left his position, the middle of the field, then that became vulnerable. And if you draw angles, if you take the goalpost and draw lines from the goalpost out to the half line at the center of the field, that's a good angle of opportunity and understanding where the danger areas are. So with my anchor, basically I told him to kind of stay if you drew lines from the length of the field at each end of the penalty arc, right through the center circle, that would be your primary area to play into. That would be about 20 yards wide. All right, so that's your area to play in. Above him at the top, behind the strikers, I had my engine. So the number 10 would be my engine. And that's the guy that makes everything happen, up and down, creative, insightful, good ability to possess the ball and distribute it. That's the engine, makes things happen. And in between them, then I would have what I call my hinge player, like the hinge on a door. And the hinge player would open the field up, just like a door has hinges. It opens and closes. So this is a player that would be responsible to keep play alive and to open up the game with diagonal play, switching the field from one side to the other, getting diagonal penetration, playing balls into the corners to the flags for the Georgie Best players to run onto them. So that'd be my midfield. I'd have the 2 wingers, the Georgie Best. And from back to front, I'd have the anchor, the hinge player, and the engine. And then my 2 strikers, and I had them as different types of players as well. I had one of them as a Cool Hand Luke model. You ever saw that movie? Cool Hand Luke was the guy who was just like this. The title says he was cool under pressure. He didn't get excited, didn't get riled up, kept things in stride, was always ready for what was going to happen, never caught unprepared. That's one of my strikers would be Cool Hand Luke. He'd be the one to look for the opportunity. He'd be the one who would probably pounce on a loose ball, a rebound. He'd probably be the one who would be on the back post for a tap in. That's the Cool Hand Luke. He sees the game, sees how it develops, see how it's unfolding, and then at the right time, he'd be in the right place. And the other striker would be, I would call that player Speedy Gonzalez. Speedy Gonzalez. And he's the one that would be able to stretch the field for you. He'd have speed. He'd be a threat. He'd have to be contained. Otherwise, he could run right through you. So that was my alignment from top to bottom. Speedy Gonzalez, Cool Hand Luke, and the engine, Georgie Best right and left, the hinge player, the anchor, the middle of the field in defense would be the processor, flanked by rock steadies and backed up by Pac-Man. How about that?
Wow.
See how that works out for you.
I never grow old to hear that, man. That's some stunning stuff, bro.
Yeah, I think it holds a little bit of water too. I mean, if you look at, and you can, everybody plays a little differently, but think of the expectation you have for the positions that playing. What's their role? Who best fits that role? This way, it's pretty well defined. And like I said earlier, it's like instrument. Every instrument is different, makes its own sound, it has its own way of being played. Uh, Players in the team are the same way. They're all different. They all have qualities. They all play to their strengths, and when you combine their strengths in the right way, you're going to have the best chance to have a successful, high performing team. So, Kevin, that's it. I think I was in the thereabouts time again.
Man, that's beautiful, baby. I tell you, that's top notch. It's one of the best. So there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 85th session of the St. Hey, I go again, of the United States National High School Champions League starting 11 or thereabouts with Terry Michler and Kevin Whalen. So long, Terry. Have a nice
All right,
weekend.
here. Have a good weekend, everybody.